Karz talks, facts are opinions and opinions are facts. A Ford executive said something very weird, and I kind of wanted to break it down a little bit and see if what this executive said makes any freaking sense at all. At face value, it seems like the normal mumbo jumbo BS you get from the corporate hierarchy, so let's break this down. First of all, you may have seen this. Ford executive declares engines no longer matter. This is an article from Car Scoops. Ford Vice Chair John Lawler. His opinion is, let me explain. So, quote, I don't think that consumers really think about powertrains the way they did 30 years ago. Further stating, quote, where combustion engines defined what a vehicle was, the horsepower, the displacement, the torque, and everything about a vehicle, I think a lot of that is gone. And to summarize this, the author here says, sure, in certain niches, combustion engines are still king, but the vast majority of customers don't give a damn whether their car comes from an internal combustion engine, a hybrid, or all-electric powertrains, as long as it's priced within their reach and has the features and range they desire. And while petrol heads may bemoan that reality, automakers welcome it with open arms. Of course they do, because this means that they can just continue to produce crap like they do. And that's because the average person, now we're about to break this down. It seems like to an enthusiast like myself, this is just like the craziest thing someone can say, a Ford executive. Actually, think about it. No, I don't think they're wrong. I don't think this person here is wrong at all. I tell you why. Because let's be real. The vast majority of vehicle sales every single year are not from people like me or yourself if you're an enthusiast. Enthusiasts are the small, very small part of who buys new cars, and it's usually only the wealthy enthusiasts who make up more of the new car purchases. Your average enthusiast isn't going to buy new unless it's something really, really special, and also within the realm of reasonably priced something or another. But the average car buyer, which is most of new car sales, yeah, they don't care. Largely, they don't care what the engine is. They don't care if it has 1 cylinders, 8 cylinders, no cylinders. It doesn't matter to them. They don't care if it's turbocharged or not. They don't care nothing. All they care about is that they get in it. It takes them from A to B, and that's it. They pay monthly payments for it, and it's just an appliance. It is no different to them than a lawnmower. It is there to serve a purpose. It is there to make something more challenging easy. It is a convenience in modern life to have a vehicle. It makes no difference to them what engine is in it. Absolutely. 100%. And I think it's kind of to the consumer's own detriment that because they don't care, that's why we have so many bad engines in cars today. Because, yeah, manufacturers love the fact that they don't care, because why? They're going to be able to produce crappier engines that fail a lot quicker, whether by design or just by ignorant engineering, just to save a couple bucks. They're not going to go out of their way to make something truly special. Now, that's not to say that they don't, but the grand scheme of things, they might have 1 or 2 very special engines or powertrains that they use, but they'll use them in multiple vehicles. You know, very rarely anymore, especially in today's world, do you see a manufacturer spend the money, and then we're talking sometimes billions, for R&D investment on a powertrain for a road-going production vehicle, to only offer it in one vehicle. Hardly ever. And the only manufacturer to this day I can think that is really caring about that, and if we're excluding more niche manufacturers like Ferrari and some of them brands, if we're talking about like big name manufacturers, the only ones that to this day really are mass producing and R&Ding bespoke engines is GM. Out of all of the manufacturers, they're one of the biggest right now with highly bespoke engines, which we'll get more later in this video. But yeah, the average person don't care. They do not. So yeah, I believe that this Ford exec is right. Unfortunately, unfortunately, I think he is spot on with what he said. The average person doesn't care. The informed buyer, whether they're a car person or not, does care because they've done their research. They are not going to purchase a vehicle that has a horrible track record of reliability, especially if it's an engine with known problems. For example, in Ford's case, someone who is really, really informed is probably not want to go with something with any of the newer EcoBoost or any of the new Ford engines with the wet belt for the oil pump. They're probably not going to go with anything that uses a wet belt. In fact, they're probably going to stay away from EcoBoost engines altogether because while EcoBoost engines aren't always terrible, in the grand scheme of like overall reliability, they're not the highest ranking. So a very informed buyer who doesn't care about power, who doesn't care about stuff like that, is going to go to some other option or some more reliable turbocharged option before they pick an EcoBoost. So in that aspect, yeah, it does matter what engine is in the vehicle because that can very much make or break someone wanting that particular vehicle or not. And then lastly, you have the enthusiast. We absolutely do care. We are the ones that care the absolute most about what engine comes in cars. It's because of us is why bespoke engine options exist, because we do care. In a performance car, it is indeed one of the defining factors. And it sucks because we're such a small portion of the overall like demand for cars. So obviously the manufacturers, they still make enthusiast cars, but we are, you know, just ever so small on their list of potential customers they're going to cater to or they're going to develop products for. And it sucks because we do absolutely care. Just to show how much we care, here's another article from Car Scoops about Ferrari and their EV. Like they were going to come out with an EV, which I think is just bizarre for Ferrari. But they were like, yeah, hey, we're going to jump on the EV bandwagon too. We're going to develop an EV Ferrari, because as if a Ferrari owner is going to want it. Now, I'm sure there's probably one or two out of the small fortunate that can afford a new Ferrari anyway. But the fact that Ferrari's clientele is so small, out of their hundreds of potential buyers, they don't even have enough out of that pool to justify an EV is crazy. They scrapped, well, they didn't scrap, they delayed. So it says Ferrari has delayed their second EV. So no one cares about a Ferrari EV. No one cares about EVs in this capacity. And another good example, and this is not to say EVs don't make good sports cars, just the wrong market. It's just the absolute wrong market for them. Another good example is Porsche and a Taycan. The Taycan is probably one of the best performance EVs, especially when it comes to handling. It's not a bad looking car. I'd take that one right there, in that color right there. Oh my God, I love the purple on the Porsches like that. They don't sell at all. I hardly ever see Taycans. One or two here and there. I definitely will see more 911s than anything. Absolutely. For good reason. And it says here that, for 2024, sales are up, but not in their EV category. It's in every other vehicle that has the internal combustion engine is up. And that's the crazy part. You go down here and it shows you year over year, the Taycan sales dropped almost 50% versus 2023. That's crazy. I don't know about sales figures for 2025, like what they're going to be. I don't think they've picked up any, so it's probably going to be even lower. compared to the 911, that's up 2%. The 718 Boxster and Cayman is up 15%. Where the Taycan, ooh, negative 49%. A lot of people are saying this is due to, oh, it needs to be updated. People are waiting for the new model. I don't think it's going to make a difference. I think the sales will continue to stagnate. Wrong car, wrong market. The enthusiast does not want that, because the enthusiast does indeed care about what's in the vehicle. It could be the fastest freaking thing. It could handle like it's on rails. It could have over 1,000 horsepower. For our market, it does make a difference. Sales numbers shows that, and I think that will always be the case. So in the grand scheme, Ford Exec is right. The average person does not care. You give the average person whatever, like they said, as long as it's affordable and it works for the average person. Now, the average person still might care whether if it's internal combustion engine or EV, just because they don't want to adopt EV. But for the most part, it don't matter. So with that comes to the last thing. I said I was going to touch back on this earlier in the video, and that's with GM. I mentioned that GM is one of the very few manufacturers who are producing bespoke engines, developing engines for like one vehicle. Now, it's sad because Ford was big on this in the 2010s, 2010s. Even in the 2000s, they were big on this. And it was kind of like what made a lot of Ford cars special, especially their enthusiast vehicles, is that they came with engines you could not get in anything. And Ford has a long history of this. The Ford Taurus SHO, that was the only Ford vehicle that had that engine. And it was the same way. You couldn't get the SHO engine in any other vehicle. It was bespoke to that car for the first, second, and third generation Taurus SHO. Completely unique to that car. You know, move up a little bit further, and then you got the Ford, the Cobra, Terminator Cobra 4.6, because I would say you could get a 4.6, 4-valve 4.6 in other cars. But if you wanted the supercharged Terminator 4-valve 4.6, you could only get that in the Cobra. The SVT 2003 Ford Cobra. Same thing with the GT500 that came out a few years later. You could only get that 5.4 supercharged engine in that car. Before that, it was the Ford GT. You could only get a 5.4 supercharged. You go up into even more modern times, and probably the most recent best example of this is the Voodoo, the 5.2 Voodoo from the GT350. Awesome bespoke engine. You could only get it in the GT350. That's why the GT350 is still such a special car and so highly sought after, and why so many people still want it, and why so many people prefer it even over the GT500, the new GT500. And then after that, when Ford came out with the Predator GT500, it's still special, and they only offer it in one other vehicle. They wanted to offer it in the Raptor R, and it's the only other vehicle you can get it in. So it's still pretty bespoke. It was only offered in 2 vehicles. Now you can't even find it in anything other than GTD. It seems like Ford's kind of going to pull a Dodge on that, and it's basically just going to be copy paste, copy paste. We're going to stick this 5.2 supercharged in pretty much everything, like Dodge has been doing with the Hellcat engine. Is it still a special engine? Sure, but they're not doing it on the scale they did, and not like how GM's doing it, especially with the new Corvette, the Z06, ZR1, 2 prime and the most unique examples I can think off the top of my head right in this moment in time, where manufacturers prioritizing bespoke engines. I mean, both of them had to go through their own development. It makes both of those vehicles highly desirable because, yeah, you can't get that dang engine in nothing else. And GM probably won't offer those engines in anything else. That's going to make those cars very unique and very special for a very long time after they're way off the production line. So in the very small group of people, it matters more than anything else. But in the grand scheme of the mass majority of people buying cars, they don't care if it's a flat plane crank V8. They don't care if it revs to 10,000 RPMs, has 900 horsepower, does 9 seconds in the quarter. All they just care that it's affordable, it gets decent mileage, whatever it is, and that it's big enough for what they need it for. I don't care what's in it. They don't care if it's going to blow up in 50,000 miles. They'll go out and buy another, and that's just how it is anymore, because consumers are not holding on to their cars like they used to. Cars, for the most part, are not designed anymore to last more than a decade, if that. You're lucky to get modern cars that last that long with all of their original components. They want you to cycle through cars like any other type of commodity, like a cell phone or something. So you're buying one every other year. So cheap engines, cheap parts, doesn't matter. Consumers will keep buying it. It's kind of straightforward on all of this, but I just wanted to talk about it because it sucks when you're the enthusiast. You're the small little guy who cares the most and can do the least. But it's just the sad reality. And hopefully, this is why we have to embrace what's already been made, because we can't trust the fact that we're going to get anything more special going forward. It's just not the priorities of the OEMs. There's no markets for them really. So we kind of just have to be happy and just take care of what's already been made. So many awesome engines have been made that, absolutely define what the vehicle is. If it is the only good redeeming thing on the whole vehicle, because there's a few examples of those. And we just got to love them, hold on to them, and cherish them for the rest of our existence. But until that, it's going to finally wrap it up here for the video. Let me know what you think. Put your thoughts in the comments. Otherwise, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Share with everyone you know. If you want to see more content like this and you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Keep a lookout for the next Cars Talks video.